Elisa again with floLIVE. I'm here with Bill Wark from our Americas team. Bill, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me here today.
Great. All right. So this is wrapping us up for our summer series. Hope you've had a wonderful summer with us. We've enjoyed being with you, covering a whole gamut of topics from connectivity to complexity to regulations. Now we're going to dive into some of the technology today, what options are available. I couldn't think of anyone better to do that than you, Bill.
Well, thank you for having me here, and I look forward to answering your questions and basically providing some insights into the technology and what we utilize for fleet management sector for connectivity management services.
All right, well, let's dive right in. So connectivity in fleet and asset solutions can be challenging, as we've been learning through our other guests, and we've heard in other sessions about the importance of flexibility and being able to keep those solutions connected. How does the SIM itself come into play in this scenario?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when it comes down to the SIM component, there's two factors that I would like to focus on. First is the form factor of the SIM. So there's many different form factors, and based on the use case, the telematics application, you might utilize a specific SIM. So a good example is if you're going to utilize a TCU box, it stands for telecommunication or telematics control unit. You might want to use a high environmental SIM, so mainly like a automotive grade SIM, and that is called an MFF2 SIM. So under that use case, that might be more relevant than a traditional SIM. Where there's other use cases like dash cams or just traditional telematics type services that might use a 2FF, 3FF, or 4FF type SIMs. Nowadays, you're hearing more also about eSIM, which is a SIM that's embedded inside of the module. We're able to do that as well by basically utilizing some of the processors of the module. And then you also have a soft SIM, where that one we can support as well, but it's a little bit more complex when it comes down to the security of vulnerabilities of that solution. But in some cases, some use cases call out for soft SIM. But the bottom line is when it comes down to the SIM component, we're agnostic. We support all of them. So that's a SIM form factor. But to conclude with your question, the other component is, okay, so what type of SIM are you going to utilize out there when it comes down to either eUICC or Multi-IMSI or UICC? Those are three different types of flavors, and there's more complexities of each one, and it's based on the use case that you are going to deploy in the telematics space that you would use a specific type of SIM. So I can go a little bit more in depth in each one, but just from a high level perspective, UICC is simply a SIM that's using one operator, or it can be a multi-IMSI type operator approach under a plastic SIM or an embedded SIM. Then you have the eUICC, which is a profile that's utilizing either SGP 22 or SGP 32, which is a new basically not regulatory, but new profile technology that's being utilized. And that is mainly a profile, and you can use that with one single carrier or multi-IMSI as well. And then you have multi-IMSI by itself, which is having multiple operators within a single SIM, regardless if it's UICC or eUICC, you can apply them to both. So I know I said a lot there, but bottom line, we got you covered regardless of the solution, the SIM form factor, or the technology that you would like to utilize when it comes down to telematics sector and fleet management. But everything is dictated based on the use case of the solution.
Great, Bill. That's perfect. So, and that makes me, lean into that next question, which we were going to talk about, eSIM, eUICC, very popular. It's on everybody's lips. When would we recommend to use it? And when would we recommend perhaps one of those other flavors that we talked about?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I spend the majority of my time explaining that to customers every day. So I would say that the best thing to do is to leverage the use case. Let the use case dictate what technology you're going to utilize. So, for instance, if you're using an asset tracker solution that's going to travel all over the world, the use case that you might want to utilize is would be a multi-IMSI type UICC solution where you have a plastic SIM with multiple operators in a single SIM in order to give you that redundancy within the SIM itself and the global coverage across the world with all the operators that you need in order to have that type of solution. Now, if you have another solution that's more of a fixed type solution, like a solution that's only going to be within a facility or pretty more static type solution, then you can probably use eUICC, where it might deploy or you can deploy it with one single carrier, but you have that insurance policy that if anything happens to that operator, or if you want to leave that operator for whatever reason, then you can basically over the air or basically push out another profile in order to get that SIM from one operator to the other operator. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, and now you're empowered the customers to have that capability to choose whenever they want the specific operator itself of their choice. So a lot of flexibility there that can be utilized in order to provide that service.
It's great, really future proofing, so you don't have to worry about those truck
Yeah,
rolls just to change your connectivity provider. That's great.
yeah,
Love it.
exactly.
That's good. All right, well, last question here. So the eUICC creates that single SKU possibility, right? But what about the different network carriers that are providing the connectivity? How can that be simplified?
Yeah, so eUICC can give you that single SKU like you mentioned, but you also have multi-IMSI that can give you that single SKU as well.
Yes, of course.
Bottom line is both of them have the capability to utilize multiple operators within the SIM. So it comes down to, for instance, what IMSI you're utilizing. So if I'm using a global IMSI as an example, over here in the United States, I can have all carriers in that single IMSI. And then I can have a second IMSI if I'm using multi-IMSI with all the operators as well in there. So then at that point in time, I have a fully redundant solution where
Mhm.
the device is selecting the best carrier based on the best signal strength at any given point in time. And then if that operator, for whatever reason, goes down, then we have the multi-IMSI switching capability to switch to a secondary IMSI that gives you the flexibility of any single operator, and the device will choose the best operator at that given point in time based on the RSSI signal strength of that device. So you have the capability to have full redundancy within a single SIM, and that's one of the advantages of using multi-IMSI, but you can also do it with eUICC, where eUICC, and not to get too complex about this, but this is where it can get a little bit confusing. You can have eUICC with multi-IMSI on top of that, and that gives you the best of both worlds. So you have the flexibility to swap at the eUICC level, and you have the capability to live within the multi-IMSI environment and swap within all the operators with the flexibility of pricing as an example, or better service, quality of service as an example, or any type of restrictions or regulatory mandates that are needed. You can leverage any specific IMSI at any specific area that you're traveling globally or locally within the United States.
Oh, that's great. And the MZ is not a full profile download, right? So that I would assume would affect your latency and perhaps your battery life?
Yeah, so it's not basically the IMSI itself. You would have that embedded into the SIM. It could be done when you order the SIM, as an example. You could do it over the air, but in your case, to answer your question,
a guest joining us this month. My apologies. I love you. That was my 6-year-old on summer vacation, right? Those summer series, you never know what's
yeah,
going to happen.
exactly. Yeah, no.
Sorry about that. Oh,
Yeah.
and he's 7. My apologies. He's 7.
Exactly. We all have those, so don't worry about it. But yeah, no, so you have the capability to utilize the multi-IMSI in order to localize and specifically leverage the latency for battery type solutions that require lower latency when it comes down to it. And you have everything within the SIM itself, so it's not going to go over the air, or it's not going to cause any issues to cause longer battery lifetimes and within the device. So that's one of the flexibilities that you have in order to do all that algorithm, or that dynamic allocation of the IMSI and the carrier within the SIM and the device already, without having to connect back and forth.
Well, that's great. Thank you for explaining that, Bill. So it sounds like we've got a lot of options on ways to keep you connected during the summer and beyond. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime, and thank you for having me.
Great. Have a great week. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks.